Have you ever caught yourself wondering about the meaning behind your partner's intimate actions? Particularly when she reaches out with such tenderness and places your penis in her mouth. What emotions are at play? What is she truly expressing in this deeply vulnerable and intimate moment? The answer may be far more profound than you expect. Today, I want to share a story steeped in wisdom and filled with heartfelt understanding, passed down by an old woman known for her exceptional insight into love, intimacy, and life itself. Her words will likely surprise you, offering a perspective that goes far beyond the physical and touches the core of human connection. Stay with us until the end to uncover the deeper emotional layers of intimacy and learn valuable lessons that will strengthen your relationship and enrich your life. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Your support means a lot, so if you find value in this video, please give it a thumbs up to help spread our message. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. Have you ever caught yourself wondering about the meaning behind your partner's intimate actions? Particularly when she reaches out with such tenderness and places your penis in her mouth. What emotions are at play? What is she truly expressing in this deeply vulnerable and intimate moment? The answer may be far more profound than you expect. Today, I want to share a story steeped in wisdom and filled with heartfelt understanding, passed down by an old woman known for her exceptional insight into love, intimacy, and life itself. Her words will likely surprise you, offering a perspective that goes far beyond the physical and touches the core of human connection. In a quiet, enchanting village nestled among lush, green hills and fields of wildflowers, there lived a wise and revered woman named Donna Evelina. At 87 years of age, she had seen the world change, relationships evolve, and had come to understand the deepest mysteries of the human heart. Her knowledge was sought by many, not just because of her age, but because of the profound wisdom that radiated from her very being. She was a woman who had lived through love's joys and sorrows, seen the complexity of intimacy, and could articulate the unspoken truths that others often missed. Her home was a small, rustic cottage built from stone, with ivy creeping up its walls and colorful flowers blooming in every window. This place, filled with light and warmth, was a refuge for those seeking answers to life's most difficult questions. People from near and far traveled to sit at her feet, hoping to absorb even a fraction of her insight. On one such day, when the golden sunlight bathed the village in a peaceful glow, a young couple arrived at her doorstep, their faces etched with concern. Caio and Beatrice had been together for a few years, their love evident in the way they moved together, an unspoken connection that tied them to one another. Yet despite the strength of their bond, they had recently found themselves struggling with an intimate question, one that they couldn't resolve on their own. They had heard of Donna Evelina's wisdom through whispers in the village, and so, with trepidation and hope, they came seeking her guidance. The couple entered Donna Evelina's garden, where the air was filled with the sweet scent of jasmine and lavender. The tranquility of the garden was almost magical, a place where worries seemed to dissipate with each breath. Donna Evelina greeted them with a soft smile, her eyes twinkling with a warmth that immediately put them at ease. She invited them to sit on a wooden bench beneath the shade of a towering oak tree, where the gentle rustling of leaves created a soothing melody. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. For a few moments, they sat in silence, allowing the peace of the surroundings to settle their nerves. Then Beatrice, her delicate fingers intertwined with Caio's, broke the quiet with a question that had been weighing heavily on her heart. "Donna Evelina," Beatrice began, her voice soft yet filled with a certain urgency, "Caio and I love each other deeply, but recently, we felt a gap in our understanding of our intimacy. I need to ask you something that I've been too afraid to ask anyone else. What does it mean when a woman takes her partner's penis in her mouth? I feel that there is something more to this act, something I don't fully understand." Her question lingered in the air, vulnerable and raw, as Beatrice looked down, her face flushed with the weight of it. It was not an easy topic to bring up, yet she knew that if anyone could provide clarity, it would be the elderly woman sitting before them. Caio, too, looked at Donna Evelina with curiosity and anticipation, sensing that they were on the brink of discovering something important. Donna Evelina leaned forward slightly, her gentle gaze resting on the young couple. She saw the love between them, the yearning for connection, the desire for understanding. And in that moment, she smiled, not because of the question, but because of the depth of feeling behind it. "My dear," Donna Evelina began, her voice as soft and comforting as a mother's embrace. "Intimacy is a language all its own, one that often speaks without words. When a woman performs such an intimate act, it is about more than physical pleasure. It is a gesture of trust, of vulnerability, and of a deep, unspoken bond between two souls. You see, in that moment, she is offering herself completely, bearing not just her body, but her heart as well." Beatrice and Caio listened intently, hanging on to every word as Donna Evelina continued. "It is an act of surrender, yes, but also of great strength. For in that act, a woman is saying, 'I trust you with all of me, even my most vulnerable self.' It is a way of expressing love in its purest form, one that transcends the physical and enters the realm of emotional connection. And for the man, it is an invitation to reciprocate that trust, to meet her vulnerability with tenderness, care, and respect." The elderly woman's words flowed like a gentle river, washing over them with a truth they hadn't fully grasped before. It was not just an act of physical pleasure, as society so often reduced it to, but rather a profound exchange of love, trust, and mutual giving. In that sacred moment of intimacy, two people are not just connecting physically, but are opening themselves up emotionally in ways that words could never capture. As the sun began to set, casting a soft glow across the garden, Donna Evelina looked at Beatrice with a kind smile. "Remember, my dear, that true intimacy is not about what is done, but about what is felt. It is in these quiet, private moments where the soul speaks louder than any words ever could. It is in these acts where we say, without saying, 'I love you, I trust you, I give you all of me.' And that, my child, is the true beauty of intimacy." Tears welled up in Beatrice's eyes, not out of sadness but out of the overwhelming sense of understanding that had just blossomed within her. She squeezed Caio's hand tightly, and in that moment, they both felt the depth of their connection in a way they hadn't before. They had come seeking answers to a physical question, but they were leaving with a newfound understanding of what it meant to truly share themselves with one another. As they left Donna Evelina's garden, the couple walked hand in hand, feeling lighter, more connected, and filled with a deep appreciation for the love they shared. They had learned that intimacy was not just about the body but about the heart, the soul, and the unbreakable bond that forms when two people truly open themselves to one another. So the next time you find yourself wondering about the meaning behind an intimate moment, remember that it is not just about the physical act. It is about trust, vulnerability, and love in its truest, most unguarded form. And that is something far more beautiful than any words could ever describe. Donna Evelina gazed at the young couple with her wise, knowing eyes, sensing the depth and vulnerability behind their question. Over the years, many people had come to her for guidance on matters of the heart, but she always found that intimacy was the most delicate and misunderstood. As she watched Beatrice and Caio, she could see the nervousness in their faces, the quiet yearning for understanding. They weren't just seeking an answer about physical intimacy. They were looking for something deeper, something that would help them unlock a fuller, richer connection with each other. After a moment of thoughtful silence, Donna Evelina gently smiled and began to speak. Her voice was soft, like a lullaby, yet carried the weight of years of wisdom and experience. "My dears," she said, her tone filled with tenderness, "what you're asking touches on something much deeper than the act itself. Intimacy is a journey that unfolds slowly, layer by layer. It is built not in a single moment, but in the many small moments that make up a relationship. When a woman reaches out to her partner, taking his penis into her mouth, it may seem like a physical gesture, but it's so much more than that. It is a profound expression of trust, vulnerability, and love. She paused for a moment, letting her words settle in the air like the soft breeze that rustled the leaves in her garden. The couple sat quietly, their hands intertwined, listening intently to every word as if they were hearing the secrets of the universe unfold. You see, Dona Evelina continued, when a woman engages in such an intimate act, she is showing you a part of herself that is deeply personal and sacred. She is not simply engaging in a physical act of pleasure. She is offering a gesture of trust that goes beyond the surface. She is saying, I trust you with my body, my emotions, my vulnerability. It is a way of opening up, of showing you that she is completely unguarded, willing to share herself in a way that is intimate not only physically but emotionally. The young couple remained silent, their expressions softening as they absorbed the meaning behind Dona Evelina's words. They had never thought about it in such a way before. They had viewed intimacy as something physical, but now they were beginning to see that it was much more layered, much more complex. The physical touch is just the beginning, Dona Evelina went on, her voice calm but resonant with emotion. True intimacy is built on the foundation of trust, respect, and acceptance. When a woman takes that step, it is not about submission or dominance. It is about mutual surrender. It is a gesture that says, I am here, fully present with you, and I trust you to meet me with the same openness. It is an invitation for you to connect on a deeper level, to let go of all barriers and meet each other in a space of total vulnerability. Beatrice's eyes filled with emotion as she looked over at Caio, understanding dawning in her gaze. She had always sensed that their moments of intimacy were meaningful, but she had never thought of them as acts of profound emotional trust. Her heart swelled with the realization that these moments weren't just about desire. They were about love, about building a bridge between two souls. Dona Evelina smiled as she saw the couple's growing understanding, and she continued, Intimacy, true intimacy, is woven into the small, everyday gestures that you share. It is in the way you reach for each other's hand when you're walking side by side, the way your eyes meet across a room full of people, or how you hold each other close after a long day. These are the moments that build trust, that lay the groundwork for deeper connections. And when the time comes for more physical acts of love, they are simply an extension of that trust, an expression of the love that you have been nurturing all along. She leaned forward, her silver hair gleaming in the late afternoon sunlight. Think of intimacy like a garden, she said softly. It requires care, patience, and attention. The small, daily acts of love are like planting seeds, seeds of trust, of respect, of mutual care. And when you tend to those seeds, when you water them with kindness and understanding, they grow into something beautiful. Intimacy is the flower that blooms from the love you've cultivated over time. Dona Evelina's words seemed to resonate deeply with Beatrice and Caio. They could feel the truth in what she was saying, and it shifted their entire perspective on their relationship. They realized that intimacy was not just about physical closeness, but about the emotional bond that they were constantly building and strengthening through the small gestures of love and care. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. You must understand, Dona Evelina said, her voice steady, that intimacy is not something that happens in isolation. It is the result of the trust you have built over time. When a woman takes her partner's penis into her mouth, it is an act of connection, of mutual giving and receiving. She is showing you that she trusts you enough to be vulnerable, to let go of any fear or hesitation. And in return, she hopes for that same trust, that same vulnerability from you. Caio nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. He had always seen intimacy as something that just happened between two people, but now he realized that it was something that had to be nurtured, something that grew from the love and trust they shared in their everyday lives. I see now, Caio said quietly. It's not just about the act itself. It's about everything that comes before it, how we treat each other, how we communicate, how we build trust every day. Dona Evelina smiled warmly, pleased with the understanding that was blossoming between the couple. Exactly, she said. It's about the emotional groundwork that you lay. It's about how you make each other feel safe, how you create a space where both of you can be open and vulnerable without fear. When you do that, physical intimacy becomes not just an act of pleasure, but an expression of the deep love and respect you have for one another. Beatrice looked at Caio, her eyes filled with tenderness. "I never realized it before," she whispered. "But every time we share those moments, I'm showing you how much I trust you. And I trust you completely." Caio squeezed her hand, his heart full of love. "I trust you too," he said softly. Donna Evelina watched them with a gentle smile, knowing that they had taken an important step forward in their relationship. They had come to her seeking answers about a single intimate act, but they were leaving with a deeper understanding of the emotional foundation that true intimacy is built upon. As they rose to leave, Donna Evelina gave them one last piece of advice. "Remember, my dears, intimacy is a journey, not a destination. It is something you build together, day by day, moment by moment. Never stop nurturing the love and trust that you share, and you will find that your intimacy will grow deeper and more meaningful with time." With that, Beatrice and Caio left her garden, their hearts lighter and their minds clearer. They knew now that their relationship was not just about physical connection, but about the love and trust they continued to build, and they walked away with a newfound commitment to each other, ready to nurture their intimacy in ways they had never imagined before. Donna Evelina watched the young couple, her heart swelling with empathy as she recognized the quiet vulnerability in their eyes. She had seen many couples over the years, each coming to her with their own worries, misunderstandings, and hopes. Love and intimacy were powerful, but they were also delicate, requiring careful nurturing and understanding. As she settled into her chair, she knew the importance of what she was about to share with Beatrice and Caio. She took a deep breath, and her voice was gentle yet filled with the wisdom of a lifetime. "My dears, true intimacy is not about the physical alone. It goes far beyond that. When you truly understand the essence of intimacy, you'll see that it's about a deep emotional and spiritual connection, one where both partners give themselves fully, without holding anything back. Every gesture, every touch, and every shared moment is an expression of love and trust. And when your partner takes such a vulnerable step, when she places your penis in her mouth, it's not just about physical pleasure. It's a powerful, profound message. She's telling you without words that she loves every part of you, that she sees beauty in all of you, and she values you completely, without judgment or reservation." Her words seemed to linger in the air, heavy with meaning. Beatrice felt her heart stir as she listened, realizing that there were depths to their intimacy that she hadn't fully considered before. Caio, too, looked thoughtful, as though seeing his partner in a new light. "Intimacy," Donna Evelina continued, her voice soothing, "is not something that can be rushed or taken for granted. It's a journey, one you must travel together, step by step. Every act of love, no matter how small, is a part of that journey. It's about celebrating each other, your strengths, your flaws, your desires, and your vulnerabilities. When your partner opens herself up to you, as Beatrice has done, she is sharing a part of her soul. And you must meet that vulnerability with respect, care, and tenderness." Beatrice turned to Caio, her eyes wide with a newfound understanding. She had never realized that these intimate moments could carry such profound meaning. It wasn't just about desire, it was about trust, about showing him the depth of her love and her willingness to be completely open with him. Caio, sensing the weight of the moment, squeezed her hand gently, his gaze softening with affection. Donna Evelina smiled as she watched their silent exchange. She could see the love between them, but she knew there was more to say, more they needed to hear. A relationship built on true intimacy requires more than just physical connection. It requires communication, honesty, and, most importantly, vulnerability. You must talk to each other about your desires, your fears, your insecurities. Don't be afraid to share what's on your mind or in your heart. It is in these conversations that the true strength of your bond will grow. She looked at Beatrice, her eyes filled with compassion. "My dear, you must tell Caio what you feel, not just in moments of joy but also in moments of doubt. Speak to him openly, without fear of judgment. And Kaio, she turned to him now, you must do the same. Share your feelings, your thoughts, your desires with Beatrice. Intimacy is built not just in the bedroom but in every conversation, in every moment where you allow yourselves to be vulnerable with each other. Beatrice felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She realized how often she had held back from expressing her deeper feelings, fearing that they might overwhelm Kaio or that they might be too difficult to explain. But now, with Dona Evelina's words ringing in her ears, she understood that these were the very things that would bring them closer. She turned to Kaio, her voice soft but determined. I realize now that we need to talk more, she said. I've always tried to show you how much I love you through my actions, but I see now that I need to speak those feelings, too. I want you to know that every touch, every kiss, is my way of telling you how much you mean to me. But I also want to share my thoughts, my insecurities, everything. I don't want to hide any part of myself from you. Kaio smiled, his eyes filled with warmth. I feel the same way, he said quietly. I've always thought that my gestures were enough, but I see now that I need to be more open with you. I want to tell you what's in my heart, not just show it. Dona Evelina nodded approvingly, watching as the couple began to open up to each other. But she wasn't finished. Communication is just one part of the puzzle, she said. Mutual respect and acceptance are just as important. True respect means accepting each other's imperfections. It's easy to love someone when things are going well, but real love, the kind that lasts, is about standing by each other when things are difficult. It's about being there for each other, not just in moments of happiness, but in moments of sadness, frustration, and uncertainty. Respect means seeing your partner for who they truly are and loving them anyway. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. Beatrice and Kaio sat quietly, reflecting on what she had said. They had always respected each other, but now they realized that true respect meant embracing everything about one another, the good, the bad, and the difficult. It wasn't about trying to change each other, it was about accepting each other completely. When you accept each other, Dona Evelina continued, you create a safe space where both of you can be your true selves. And in that space, intimacy will flourish. It's not about being perfect or meeting some ideal. It's about being real with each other, being human, and still choosing to love each other every day. Beatrice felt tears prick the corners of her eyes as she listened. She had always feared that her imperfections, her insecurities, her doubts, might drive Kaio away. But now she understood that it was these very imperfections that made their love real. She didn't need to be perfect, she just needed to be herself. I love you for everything you are, she whispered, turning to Kaio. Not just for the things that are easy to love, but for the things that make you who you are. I accept you completely. Kaio felt a lump form in his throat as he looked at Beatrice. He had always admired her strength, her kindness, her beauty, but now he saw her vulnerability too, and it made him love her even more. And I accept you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Every part of you. I love you for who you are, not for who I think you should be. Dona Evelina smiled, satisfied that the couple was beginning to understand the depth of what she had been telling them. They had come to her with questions about physical intimacy, but they were leaving with so much more, with a new understanding of what it truly meant to love, to trust, and to connect on the deepest level. Remember, she said softly, intimacy is a journey, not a destination. You will continue to grow together, to learn more about each other, to deepen your bond with every passing day. And as long as you keep communicating, keep respecting each other, and keep accepting each other's true selves, your love will only grow stronger. As the sun began to set, casting a golden light over the peaceful village, Beatrice and Kaio rose from their seats, feeling a new sense of clarity and purpose. They thanked Dona Evelina, knowing that her words had given them the tools to nurture their relationship in ways they had never imagined. Hand in hand, they walked away, ready to embrace the journey of intimacy, trust, and love that lay ahead of them. They knew that the road would not always be easy, but with open hearts and open minds, They were confident that they would face whatever challenges came their way, together. Donna Evelina watched Beatriz and Caio with a serene smile, sensing the deep gratitude they felt. Her garden, bathed in the soft hues of twilight, seemed to hold its breath, soaking in the wisdom that had passed between them. Over the years, Donna Evelina had guided many couples through their challenges, but it never ceased to move her when she saw that unmistakable spark of understanding and hope light up in their eyes. "You know," she began again, her voice steady and soothing, "love is not a straight path. It twists and turns, it surprises you with its beauty, and sometimes, its difficulties can feel overwhelming. But I want you to remember this: every challenge you face together is a chance to grow. It's an opportunity to strengthen your bond, to learn more about each other, and to deepen your connection in ways you couldn't have imagined. When you stand by each other in the hardest times, that's when real love blossoms. It's not just the easy, happy moments that define love. It's the times when you choose to fight for each other that build the foundation of something lasting." Beatriz and Caio, sitting close together on the weathered bench in Donna Evelina's garden, exchanged a glance that spoke volumes. They had come seeking advice on their relationship, unsure of how to navigate certain aspects of their intimacy, but what they had received was so much more: a new understanding of love's true depth and the tools they needed to nurture it. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Every couple has their share of hardships, Donna Evelina continued, her eyes twinkling with a wisdom that had come from decades of observation and experience. But those hardships are not the end of the story. They are simply chapters that make the story richer. You can either let them break you apart, or you can let them pull you closer together, showing you the strength of what you've built. She leaned forward, her silver hair catching the fading light. "I have seen couples who were ready to give up on each other, couples who thought the love they once had was gone forever. But they didn't walk away. Instead, they chose to face their struggles, to talk openly about their fears and desires, to work through their differences. And in doing so, they found that their love was still there, stronger and more resilient than before. They grew from those challenges, and their relationships flourished." Donna Evelina paused, letting her words sink in. She could see that Beatriz and Caio were listening intently, their minds working through what they had heard. They were beginning to realize that love wasn't just something that happened to them, it was something they had to actively cultivate, even in the face of adversity. "The key," she said, "is to always keep communicating. Talk to each other, even when it's hard. Share your feelings, your fears, your dreams, and your doubts. Be vulnerable with one another. Because it's in that vulnerability that you will find your greatest strength. When you let each other in, fully and completely, you create a bond that nothing can break." As the day began to fade into evening, the warm glow of twilight wrapped the garden in an almost magical light. The air was calm, and everything seemed to move in slow motion, as if the world itself was allowing the couple time to absorb the depth of Donna Evelina's words. "Take time for each other," she added, her voice soft but filled with importance. "Find moments to reconnect, to celebrate your love. Life has a way of pulling us in different directions: work, responsibilities, everyday stresses. But your relationship must always come first. Whether it's a quiet dinner together, a walk at sunset, or just sitting in silence, appreciating each other's presence, these small rituals are what keep the flame alive. They remind you of the love you've built and the reason you chose each other in the first place." Beatriz felt a warmth spread through her chest as she listened. She realized how easy it had been to get caught up in the rush of everyday life, letting small moments of connection slip through her fingers. But now, with Donna Evelina's guidance, she saw that those moments were the lifeblood of their relationship, the anchors that would keep them grounded even when life grew hectic. Caio squeezed Beatriz's hand gently, his mind already turning over the many ways they could take Donna Evelina's advice and apply it to their lives. He thought about their busy schedules, the times they'd let exhaustion take over, the moments they'd missed when they could have chosen to be closer. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, a quiet determination to make their love a priority, no matter what. With a gentle smile, Donna Evelina stood up and motioned toward the sky. "Come," she said, "let's watch the sunset together." There's something so peaceful about the way the sun dips below the horizon, closing one chapter and opening another. Just like the sun, your love should renew itself every day, constantly evolving, constantly growing. Beatriz and Caio followed her lead, standing beside her as they gazed at the golden horizon. The sky was ablaze with color, vibrant oranges, pinks, and purples blending together in a breathtaking display. As they stood there in silence, watching the sun slowly disappear, they felt a deep sense of peace settle over them. It was as if the worries and doubts they had carried into the garden had melted away, leaving only the quiet certainty that they were exactly where they needed to be, together. In that moment, Beatriz felt something shift inside her. She realized that their relationship wasn't just something to be enjoyed during the good times. It was something to be tended to, cared for, and strengthened every day. The small gestures, the quiet moments, the shared dreams, these were the things that would carry them through the hardest times. And she knew without a doubt that with Caio by her side, they could face anything. As the sun sank below the horizon, casting its final rays over the village, Beatriz and Caio turned to Donna Evelina with grateful hearts. They thanked her for the wisdom she had shared, knowing that her words would stay with them for the rest of their lives. They felt a deep sense of gratitude for the time they had spent in her garden, a place that now felt sacred to them, a space where their love had been renewed and strengthened. Walking hand in hand through the cobblestone streets of Valentina, Beatriz and Caio felt a new sense of purpose. The village, with its quiet charm and peaceful atmosphere, seemed to mirror the tranquility they now felt inside. They spoke softly to one another, making plans to create the special moments that Donna Evelina had encouraged, small, intentional acts of love that would remind them of the strength of their bond. Meanwhile, back in her garden, Donna Evelina moved to a quiet corner, where an old chest sat beneath a tree. It was a chest filled with memories, objects that held deep emotional significance, each one a symbol of the many lives she had touched over the years. She opened it slowly, her fingers brushing against an old notebook inside. The pages, worn and yellowed with age, were filled with stories, reflections, and the wisdom she had shared with countless people who had come to her seeking guidance. As she turned the pages, a soft smile played on her lips. Each note, each memory, was a reminder of the power of human connection, of the love and understanding that grew from the seed she had planted in the hearts of those willing to listen. She could feel the presence of all the couples she had helped, their stories intertwined with her own, and it filled her with a profound sense of peace. Closing the notebook, Donna Evelina sat back and let the soft breeze carry the scent of the flowers around her. She offered a silent prayer of gratitude for the gift of sharing her wisdom, for the lives she had touched, and for the simple joy of watching love grow. As she sat in the fading light, her thoughts drifted to Beatriz and Caio, and to all the other couples who had found strength in her words. She knew that their journeys would not always be easy, but she also knew that with love, respect, and understanding, they would flourish. And that was enough. If this story about love, respect, and emotional connection touched your heart, we invite you to subscribe to our channel. Here, we share many more stories and reflections, each filled with lessons that can help you grow in your relationships and in life. Every story we tell is an opportunity to learn, to reflect, and to deepen your understanding of love. The journey of connection is a lifelong one, and we hope that you'll join us as we explore the many ways we can strengthen our bonds with one another. Now that you've heard this moving story, we want to ask, what have you learned so far? Reflect on the lessons of trust, vulnerability, and connection shared by Donna Evelina. Comment below on one thing you've learned and will bring into practice in your own life. Remember, love and intimacy are lifelong journeys, and each small step you take deepens the connection you share with your partner. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content like this.